being joined now by President of Baseball Operations for the Mets, David Stearns. David, introduction of Carlos. What makes him the right fit for the Mets in 2024 and beyond?
I think Carlos has this unique blend of tremendous people skills, relationship skills, ability to relate with a whole host of different types of people with a really sound baseball mind and baseball intelligence. It's difficult to find that combination, and Carlos has honed that throughout his time in the game, and I'm thrilled that we get to work together now here.
Is it unfair to Carlos for Met fans out there to think that he was a second choice behind Craig Counsell?
I do think that's unfair. I think this is someone who's been on managerial lists and thought of very highly in the industry for multiple years now. This is someone who I had pegged at the front end of this process as a top candidate. And so I'm thrilled that he's here. He deserves this opportunity, and I think he's going to do a great job.
When you think about it, how early in the process, and you mentioned it during the presser that it's a long process, you do your due diligence, but how early, he's got a tremendous reputation around Major League Baseball, did you look at Carlos and say, you know what, this could really work?
I was optimistic based on all of that due diligence and reference and prep work, and then when we first met is when it hit me that this really could be the guy. We got along great. We had a number of great conversations. He's got this magnetic personality that's just easy to get along with, and so bringing that into the organization, forming that partnership, leading together was something that really felt right.
David, you talked about the bond between GM and manager. I'm curious, in today's day of age of analytics, there's some misconceptions, right? That maybe managers don't really have the necessary control like they did 15 or 20 years ago. What about the role of analytics, the relationship that now you have with the new Mets manager, and how important is that moving forward?
Yeah, so I think every organization is going to run a little bit differently. My belief is that I have a job to do and the manager has a job to do. And we work together and we support each other, but at the end of the day, they're two distinct positions and they require two distinct skill sets. I wouldn't be a very good Major League manager, and so I'm not going to try to be. I'm going to let Carlos do that job, and I think he's going to do it well.
All right, I asked Carlos during the presser about what's the expectations in 2024. You've been asked it a lot as well. The word compete has been thrown around. For the Met fan out there, what does compete look like to David Stearns?
Yeah, compete means we should be a team that's competing for a playoff spot in September, give ourselves a chance to play October baseball and have a special fall. And that should be the standard. And I think we're going to be able to put ourselves in a position to do that.
When you mentioned culture and that you want to have communication, Carlos, comes across completely affable and likable and got an engaging personality. What about the culture that you want to set up and down throughout this Met organization?
So that's a big part of it. And there is what Carlos brings is this balance of that affability, that easy to talk to nature with some really high expectations and a detail-oriented approach that's going to require a lot of our players. And those are the best leaders, the people who you can relate to, the people who you like working with, but who also hold you to really high standards, and I think Carlos is going to do that.
First one's off the checklist. You have a manager, right, since taking over as president of baseball operations. Let me ask you, did you think he was going to be a Yankee? Did you think it was going to be a Yankee that you're going to bring in here? You're a Met fan, grew up in this area, knows this organization front and back. You go to the Bronx to go get your first manager?
Yeah, it took a unique candidate for me to do that, but Carlos is that guy.
All right, what does this offseason look like? And you've been asked it a ton of times, GM meetings about Pete Alonso, his future with this organization. Is that priority number one? And where do you think the spending last year was north of $350 million? Do you think you'll have that kind of liquidity this offseason to spend?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into kind of the guessing game of where our payroll ends up. What I know is that Steve has always demonstrated a willingness to invest when the time is right. And so we're going to evaluate these opportunities as they come. We're going to be involved in all segments of free agency. And if there's the right investment, I'm very confident that Steve is going to want to do it.
What about Pete?
So Pete is a Met. I'm thrilled he's a Met. I expect him to be a Met on opening day. Beyond that, it's really tough for me to predict what the future holds.
All right, last one for you. The coaching staff, Jeremy Hefner's coming back as pitching coach. We know that. How soon do you want to try, you and Carlos get together to define and bring in and name the rest of the staff?
Yeah, so that's ongoing and is going to be the majority of our days in the coming week. We're going to spend a lot of time on that, and it takes some time. You have to go through interview processes and build out the right staff and fit the puzzle together. But certainly both of our hopes is over the next couple of weeks we'll get that done.
Well, David, congratulations on hiring Carlos Mendoza. Have a great offseason.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
David, thank you. Appreciate the time.